Hey, everybody, Pit Nation, Storm Nation, and everybody across the nation. Brad Angelo here. Uh, we haven't been live in quite a while since the shutdown lasted much longer than what we thought. And if you remember, we did a whole series of shows where I had matches against EJ Tackett, and we raised some money for our local hospitals. I'm joined here with a couple representatives from our hospital here in Lockport, New York. We've asked EJ to join in. So Tim, could you throw EJ in for us? Hey EJ, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. How are you, buddy?
Good. So EJ, if we could, I want to talk a little bit about what we did, and then I want to introduce. Actually, I'll introduce you now. We have Ann and Carolyn from the Lockport Hospital here in Niagara County. This is
Hello.
my good friend EJ Tackett.
Nice to meet you, EJ.
Nice to meet you as well.
So kind of the way this whole thing went is if you remember, we had the whole shutdown and all the PBA events were canceled. Shortly thereafter, I called EJ and I said, hey, I have an idea. Let's get together and do some live matches. Well, EJ, little did we know that there was going to be people all over the world watching. And then many other shows popped up from some of the other pros and a lot of other matches and online stuff. So it really started something that there's quite a few people doing it. So I thought it was pretty cool. And we started a GoFundMe account. Many of you that are watching right now, you donated. EJ, the grand total was $1,495 that we raised. So we bumped it up to $1,500. I wanted to present the check for our hospital for the $750, and EJ will present his check at a later time in Bluffton, Indiana out there. So EJ, anything you want to say to Ann and Carolyn?
I just want to thank you guys and all of your staff for everything that all the people on the front lines have done during this unusual and difficult time. Without the hard work of people like yourself, we wouldn't be where we are right now, and having good hopes for the immediate future and a long future from now. So I just want to say thank you.
You're very welcome. You are welcome. Thank you.
So what was it like? What has been going on the last 5 months from your end? And we see a lot of stuff on the news. Depending on which news channel you watch, it gets blown out of proportion to whatever agenda they want to have. But what's it really been like here at our local hospital?
Well, we unfortunately had to cancel our employee bowling tournament here at Brad Angelo Lanes. So that was a big disappointment because you have been so wonderful to us. I'll let Ann talk about the hospital status.
Sure. So the good news is the last 8 weeks, we've had no positive COVID patients inside the hospital. We've had no inpatients that are COVID positive. So we're very pleased about that. But during the months of May and June, we certainly had an uptick in cases in the community, and we served a number of patients who were COVID patients and some very seriously ill. So, our hats are really off to our staff who are on the front lines, and we're the healthcare heroes in our community, treating and making sure that all of our patients were well taken care of. So our staff really stepped up. It was difficult times, but they really, I commend them for the hard work that they did on behalf of our community.
She's so politically correct, isn't she? How wonderful. We didn't even have any of this planned or organized. This is completely off the cuff. So did you have that written down and memorized last night?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got that? Okay.
We had so much support from the community too. I just want to add so many donations from local businesses like you, and we're very appreciative of that.
EJ, how many people live in Bluffton, Indiana?
The county has about 35,000 people.
Okay, so that's the entire county. So they're
right.
That they live in, I don't know, what, maybe 10,000?
It's like 15 or 17,000 in the city, yeah.
City in Indiana, but it's the heartland of America. The whole, I like to say, blue collar America. And EJ and his family, along with his mom and dad, they bought a bowling center there in Indiana, And then EJ is he's one of the top bowlers in the world. So I've been able to watch him grow up since he was just a teenager and knew that he was the real deal coming along the way. So it's been great to be a part of this and partner with him, and we're glad to be able to help. EJ, do you have any question at all for them?
No, not really. I didn't prepare any questions for them.
No problem. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you mean to our community. Thank you so much for the support that you have given us here at the bowling center. You know, I just took them out back and showed them the back alley patio, and they were pretty impressed. So my wife, Michelle, has put a lot of hard work into that patio out there. And so hopefully we can have you guys back for some of our pizza.
That'll be
Love
great.
it.
Okay. All right. So here's the check for $750. Giving it. It is official. It's done and out of my hands.
That's great.
And we want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we really want to thank you for stepping up and thinking about your community hospital and all the staff that worked so hard for everyone in our community. You know, it's been a really difficult time, and I know a lot of people think about their own situation. So for you and EJ to go above and beyond and think about our healthcare workers really means a lot to us. So thank you so much for doing this. You didn't have to do it, and it really means a lot.
You know, you're right. We didn't have to do it, and I think that's why we do it. It's that type of thing. You know, if we felt like it was a requirement for us, I think people kind of resist that. Like, don't tell me what I have to do. I want to do it for the right reasons, and we did. So, EJ, thank you. Thanks so much for everything and being a part of this. And I'm glad to be able to help. And Carolyn and Ann, thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
Nice
much.
meeting
Thank
you.
you, Jay.
Okay, so we are going to move on. You guys are all set. We are here now. We're going to be featuring the IQ Tour Nano as well as the IQ Emerald. Is there anything I needed to add? Did I do something wrong?
Probably just EJ doesn't need to stay the whole time. So.
EJ, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And,
No problem.
we'll talk soon. Okay?
See you guys soon.
All right, buddy. See ya. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. You're welcome.
And we'll schedule our group out here soon.
Sounds great. All right, take care. I get to take the mask off now because I'm not standing near anybody. I'm well within 12 feet from Tim. Josh just got here, so get your questions and comments ready. We're going to fire up this lane. Yeah, we'll fire up lane 20. Now, what we're going to be bowling on here is we started running our sweeper again here at the bowling center. And we decided to put out, let's see, what was it? Bourbon Street, right?
I think so.
I think it's Bourbon Street. So that's, I think Bourbon Street is 40 feet. I think it's a pretty lofty ratio. I think it's like 7-1 or something like that. Tim's going to try to do his IT stuff, and he'll look it up and see if he can post a picture maybe of Bourbon Street. 40 feet, 7-1, but it's already been bowled on. So I haven't thrown any shots today. So you'll see me get loose just like normal, but I have the Tour Nano Pearl as well as the IQ Emerald. And I thought I would throw that. It's funny because this IQ Emerald, I know we featured this at one point in time, but this still has the weight hole, but the weight hole has been plugged. And believe it or not, I have not thrown this since I plugged the weight hole. So your guess is going to be as good as mine. Okay? So let's throw some shots and go from there. How's that? Josh, you ready? I feel like this is the first time we've done this, and I know it's been a while, but my brain's, I got all kinds of conversations going on in my brain, and I don't really know what to say. So let's start out with the IQ Emerald, as many of you know, and we'll just go from there. I'm going to start out, okay, so they were on 40 feet. I know there was a sweeper bowled on this. So I already know I'm going to probably be inside of the track. Start out a little inside of the track because there's most likely some lateral definition because of the oil depletion. Even though it starts out 7-1, well, let me say this. You know, when we're on tour and we start out with a 2-to-1 ratio left to right, it doesn't take very long for that 2-to-1 ratio to turn in 5 or 6 or 7-to-1 ratio. You know, yeah, that looks great. So there's the pattern, 40 feet, 7-to-1. And obviously the original definition was somewhere right around second arrow, it looks like. Okay, so these have been bowled on, and you're seeing it with me here, okay? So I'm going to cross the arrows around 20 with the IQ Emerald, and we'll go from there. Okay, that wasn't even 20, that was about 15. I got to get my towel.
Actually, while you do that, I can put the camera on my gimbal here and we'll get it back just so I can actually go overhead.
Okay, so bear with us. Tim's going to take the camera off and put it on his handheld device that he has here.
Look, that's an instant straight. Yeah.
You good?
You can go ahead. I'll get it on the gimbal here in a second.
All right. Okay, I ended up moving a little bit right on that one, and that saw that check in the front that we knew was going to be there. IQ Emerald, everybody knows that it's a quicker response ball. The numbers on these IQ cores, they're a relatively weak core. I think the differential is 0.29. And being this pearlized cover stock, we know it's quick. Everybody around the country has used it as quick. And I would say for the most part, this has been a pretty good ball, don't you think, guys? Like, a lot of people still use this at tournaments. You still see it around. All right. All right, so I'm standing on 19, and I'm looking at 20. So hopefully I can hit my target. Okay, that was pretty decent. Now I'm going to stay there, and I'm going to try to make that location strike. I would say that one I got around the side of it just a little bit. Certainly still saw that check in the front, but I'm not going to move my feet or my eyes. I'm just going to try to make sure that off my hand I get it rolling just a little bit more forward, so when it sees that check, it won't jump left. Okay. Standing on 19, looking 20, changing my axis rotation to just a little bit more forward. Okay, that was pretty good execution-wise. But what I saw with that, and you might not be able to pick it up on the video, what I saw with that is that got down the lane pretty good, but then it kind of rolled out. It made that one move because of the quicker response time, and it looked like it stopped.
Well, you can see it pretty good.
Did it look like it? Could you see that happen?
Yeah. You can tell by the way the pin's deflected too.
Okay, same shot. I'm gonna dial it back just a little bit from the previous shot. So just a little more axis rotation, but still mainly forward. Okay, that was a pretty well executed shot as well. But you see, that deflection is a little weak down lane. But I would say it looked pretty good on the lane. So let's compare. Well, I'm going to try to throw that identical shot. So not really forward, but certainly not around it. Try to throw that identical shot with this. Yep, there's the layout. Here's the layout of the Emerald. I'll put them side by side for you. So this is a little bit stronger. And the reason that I made this a little bit stronger is because I've had a real hard time lately with some of the weaker core balls. If there's not enough friction on the lane, they really have a difficult time getting started for me, because my rev rate is still on the lower side and the oils are so slick. So I almost feel like when I throw my normal, 5 or even 5.5 inch pin layout, it just kind of hydroplanes down lane. So anyways, I'll throw the same shot that I just threw, okay? I'm expecting this to be a little stronger, so I'm not necessarily trying to strike. I'm trying to throw the same shot that I just threw. That was definitely stronger than that. Actually, I kind of liked that whole shape that made front to back, okay? You might be able to see the roll or the axis rotation a little bit better with that ball just because of the orange label. It flares a decent amount, but still with this stronger layout and a stronger ball, I would expect to go through the nose, which is what it did. All right, same location, but now I'm going to increase my speed, okay? Now I'm trying to strike. I'm trying to take what I just saw, keep my feet the same, my eyes the same, and see if I can dial it in and strike from here. So I'm going to throw it a little faster. See how that stopped just a little bit down lane? I really threw that. That was a lot faster. So I'm okay with that. But, these guys that have the higher rev rates, they end up throwing that shot, and that last 10 feet, they get that extra couple board of lateral movement down lane. They just have a hard time getting that anymore. It's a little frustrating to me.
Get on it this shot.
All right, I'll throw it that fast. I'll keep the speed there, but I'll try to catch it a little more. Try to get my rev rate up a little, okay? So still the same location. Same speed, higher rev rate.
Yes, please.
Okay, that looked pretty good. So maybe that's one of the keys I need to do is I just need to have Josh travel with me and tell me when to
Sack up.
dial up the revometer.
Sack up, Angelo.
It did actually look pretty good, but do you see what I mean? You see how it got down to that same area down lane to where that second shot where I just increased the speed, it just kind of looked like it kind of fluttered. But that one looked like it dug in a little bit. So I'll try to repeat that same shot.
See if we can get Rick
Okay, that looked pretty good too.
Rick on live. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're gonna see if we can get Rick on. We may or may not.
Okay, I got a question from Bill Stoddard.
Yes. Hi, Billy. How you doing, buddy?
How good is this ball? I've heard nothing but great things about it.
Well, if you've watched any of the videos that we've ever done here at 10 in the Pit, I don't like to make an assessment of this ball is great or this ball stinks or anything good or bad. As much as I like to do, try to talk about the usability of the ball. And based on those last, well, really all 4 shots, the ball performed like I would have expected it to perform. I did see a fair amount of people using this weekend. In our staff conversations, our little chat groups that we have, a lot of the staff guys really like it. But keep in mind, many of the guys on our staff, you know, the tour guys, their rev, I'm probably the lowest rev rate, if not one of the lowest. So I think it's all relative. Every one of these balls are relative to what you're bowling on, what your physical, repeatable ranges are, and do you have the ability to recognize, you know, one shot and then adapt strategically for the next shot and then execute that next shot. I think that's should be the focus for most people. We all know that the IQ series has been extremely successful. You know, you have the IQ Tour Solid.
Gold.
Yeah, that's been one of the best balls over the last, I think it's been out, what, 2010 or maybe even 12, something like that. So it's been out for quite a long time.
That's why they made that emerald, was to copycat that gold one.
Yep, and then that gold ball, you remember West Malott, famous for using the gold ball, and it turned green because of the blue oil. What was the other one? The blue and yellow one, that was a good one too.
The Fusion.
You know,
That
I
was the
had a
rhythm.
couple of the IQ Fusions that I used. I actually made a show with the original IQ. It was kind of that burgundy
And blue.
and blue one. So it went the original IQ, and then the IQ Tour, and then the Fusion. No, and then it was the gold, the IQ, that gold pearl, and then the Fusion, and then what? And then the Emerald came out, and now this one. So that IQ Tour, the weaker core is I think the big selling point in this IQ line. So many of these cores are so strong, and the guys with the higher rev rates, sometimes they need that weaker core to deal with the friction that happens as the pattern evolves. So, all right, now let me do the normal thing that I usually do. I'm going to move 8 and 5 left. Obviously, I'm going to have to be a little slower. I was on 19, so I'm going to stand 27. Change the angle of my feet a little bit to open up the angle. 5 left would be 25, so I'm standing 27. I'm looking 25. I'm going to throw it a little slower. We'll see if this gets around the corner. Tim, if you get right, you are right behind me. So I want you to pay attention to that red dot that's reflecting in the lane. That red dot, to my eye, is right on 11 or 12. I don't know if it looks that way to you. Is that very close? Okay. So I'm trying to draw a line, launch angle wise, right through that red dot. When we put the Bowl U rope out, these are the kind of things that we're training you to see with the Bowl U rope. The overall, the initial launch angle, but then even more importantly, the whole front to back shape. So 27, 24, slowing it down. So I'm moving a little closer. See if I can throw a good shot here. That looked pretty good. That looked very good, actually. Josh liked it with the rev rate up. That's certainly, for me, that's been a tool that I have been working on for a while. I probably haven't given it as much attention as I should. Rick and I talk about it a lot. He'll probably make some sort of comment.
Rick, you didn't see the higher rev rate.
Rick didn't see the higher rev rate. I'll throw the same shot that I just threw with the higher rev rate. 27, 24, throw it a little faster, a little higher rev rate. This is all for you, Rick. So that got up there. That was probably 350 for me.
I'll say 380.
380 maybe that one was.
You gave that one a little bit.
I cracked on that. I actually had to recoil a little bit on that one.
That's good. You're cranking on it.
But that actually looked pretty good. So, Bill, if you're still watching,
You tried
yes.
to mimic him?
I would say, huh?
Tried to mimic Bill's
Right, mimicking Bill Stoddard? Yeah.
Give her a little loft.
Here's my Bill Stoddard shot coming at you. You ready? Pretty much the same result too, Billy. Love you, buddy. All right, let me throw the emerald from in there as well, okay? Obviously, this emerald is cleaner, lower friction. Remember, go back and watch some of those other videos. Just because a ball is cleaner, quote unquote, cleaner, doesn't mean it goes longer. We need oil to make the ball go long. What we really need to do is line up our arsenal based on the friction that we're experiencing. So in friction, this emerald should be quicker to friction than the new IQ. I'm going to throw the same shot here. Remember, this is a little weaker layout for sure.
Weaker ball.
Weaker ball, weaker layout. Still 27, 24. See how it looks. That was definitely quicker. I hope you can see that. You know, I always hesitate on these videos. Whenever I watch the video back, you know, you're looking at your phone screen, and however, it's not that easy to really see that depth perception like I'm able to see when I'm here throwing it live. So I talk a lot. You guys already know that. Part of the reason that I talk a lot is I got so much going on up here that I want to convey. But then the other part is that I really want to try to be as thorough as I can for anybody watching it. So I'm not going to move my feet. I'm going to throw this one a little faster, okay? 27, 24. Still the same rev rate. Throw it a little faster. That one got a little bit more to the right. But the interesting thing of that shot, that was the same deflection as the third shot I think I threw. Same deflection. That six pin didn't quite get back up onto the deck the way you wanted it. Well, what does that mean? That means that when that ball hit the head pin, it deflected a little too much into that 3-pin. The 3-pin went a little too straight back, caught the left edge of the 6-pin, and the 6-pin didn't have enough authority. Yet when I threw this other one, both shots that I threw this one, the deflection was much better, much more usable in this case. I might need a little bit more overall friction. I might have to change my angles a little bit with the emerald, something. Because deflection is the key. That's how you strike. All right, same shot, 27, 24. So that's pretty good.
They're saying throw it down and in.
Down and in. I'll be glad to. That's probably Jeff Tricum that says that. He's always asked.
Dave Clement.
Oh, Dave, okay. All right, now here's the thing, though. Keep in mind, this isn't a house shot. So I'll try to throw it down and in. I'll move to the right, but there's probably, because it's been bowled down, there's probably a lot of friction where I'm going to throw this. But we'll try it. What down and in? What, second arrow?
Sure.
Okay, straight down second arrow. So I'm standing on 6, looking 9 to hit 10. I'm going to soften my hand a little bit, increase my speed, and be a little bit more forward. And that certainly checked right off my hand. That jerked right as soon as I let it go. But that'll be a good test. We'll see if I can get lined up from there.
Should there be a lesson telling you guys, just because you guys want to bowl there doesn't mean
sure you hear what Josh said. Come down here.
Say it a little
they can hear
closer.
you. No,
Say it a little
that's good.
closer.
Huh?
I just told him to come say it a little closer.
Yeah, you're right.
So let that be a lesson to you guys. Just because you want to bowl there doesn't necessarily mean that's where you should be bowling that day.
You know, we're always looking for, you certainly need, we have to have proper precession that migration of the rotational axis. No matter where the ball is off your hand, if your axis is here, as the ball goes down the lane, that axis needs to migrate to get matching up to the direction that all the oil is going down lane. You want to be able to control that oil down lane. So, you know, in this case, I would need a lower rev rate if I'm going to play that much friction in the front. But trying to use a quicker response ball, not that this ball is quicker, I haven't thrown it enough to put it there yet, but it's certainly at least medium, just based on what we see. So if I'm going to use if I'm going to play friction in the front, I better have a slower response ball, or a low enough rev rate, or enough speed, or a strong enough layout, or all combination of all of those things to be able to use that friction so that precession doesn't make it roll out, or precession doesn't make it overhook. Okay? The one word that best describes proper ball motion is smooth. So the front to back migration of that rotational axis should be smooth no matter where it comes off your hand. All right, same shot. Standing on 6, looking 9, much faster, lower rev rate. Okay, that didn't look too bad.
That looked just like Dave Clement's ball.
That looked like Dave Clement's ball. Yeah, it did kind of actually. Maybe a little faster.
All right, few questions.
Yeah, let's take some questions and then we'll call it a day.
Michael Benson. Brad, could this ball be good for a low rev player, shorter sport shot patterns?
Yes.
I knew that was coming.
Well, you know, what was the criteria? Lower rev player, shorter pattern. Remember, we don't use weaker balls to make them go longer. Shorter patterns, a lot of people, they come in the shop, I'm bowling on short patterns, so I want a ball that goes long. No. It doesn't make the oil go any longer. What you want is you want a smooth ball. So that, let's say a shorter pattern, say it's 35 feet. So you got 25 feet of friction that you have to navigate. And what's the part of the lane that's changing the fastest? The 6 feet before the end of the pattern and the 6 feet after the end of the pattern. That 12 feet, wherever that pattern stops when it's fresh, you got depletion that happens just before the end of the pattern. You got depletion that happens over the whole length of the pattern. But all the different angles that people play, they all converge to a part of the lane that's only about that wide as it approaches the end of the pattern. It's only about 2 or 3 boards wide. So there's a lot of depletion that happens. And then at the very end of the pattern, you have the redistribution of oil. I'll show it again because this is a fresh enough cover to show. So I'm going to throw a shot, and then we're going to see there's no oil left on the bow ties. Okay? So I'll move in to do this. So I'm starting it in the oil so we get a good ring of oil on the front here. Like kicking that out a little bit. Okay, so when this ball comes back, you're going to see the extreme amount of oil on the first few flares, and then the back flares you won't see any oil because that was at the end of the pattern. But the most important thing for this discussion is I want you to see right here, there's already oil that came off there, came off right here on this side here. Look, there's no oil left right there. That oil got redistributed down at the end of the pattern. So when we're talking about that 12 feet, you got the end of the pattern, depletion, 6 feet prior. Now, it's not exactly 6 feet. It's just as you're approaching the end of the pattern, there's those lines of angles that people are using, the straight guys, the hook guys, the ball's converging to a part of the lane that's only about that wide. As those lines get closer, you get more and more depletion. Then, that 6 feet at the end of the pattern, you get all of the little dash mark lines of carry down. Not to mention all of the 10-pin shots of plastic balls going down the lane, 3-6-10s, all of the spare shots that people throw. Oil still moves around on those shots as well. So,
Another question.
yes.
At the top of the swing, is it better to have hand on the side of the ball or behind the ball? That's from Garland.
At the top of the swing,
Just say what you want to say.
at the top of the swing, I don't care where you have your hand. What really matters is where your hand is at the bottom. The most important, well, I don't want to say the most important. The first ball up, the first of the 5 motion sequences, the bowl U motion sequences, is the unload sequence. And that's at the foul line. Where is your hand through that sequence as you are exiting the thumb and rotating the circumference of the ball? Where is that? Do you have the ability to feel that so that you can repeat one shot to the next? And then more importantly, if you need a little less, do you have the ability to create a little less and or a little more? When you back that up, the second of the motion sequences is the extension sequence. And that is where your body is extending, your legs are extending, your muscles are stretched out to have the most powerful capacity that you could have. Then you have the load sequence. Why would we teach unload if we don't teach load? So getting loaded physically, the load sequence is from the top of the swing, wherever you are at the top of your swing, down to the hip. This little short distance, if your top of the swing is here, then you have a shorter load sequence. But you have to be able to feel where that ball is as it's entering the extension sequence and then unload sequence. And then the 4th motion sequence is the fundamentals to the top. I don't care where you stand. You can hold it like Pete Weber or Mark Roth. You can hold it like Bob Learn or Del Ballard or Marshall Holman. None of that, or even Brad Angelo or Chris Barnes or all of the guys that you would watch on TV. How you get the ball to the top of the swing, as long as you can get it there consistently. Now, where should your hand be at the top of the swing? That was the question. I don't care. Can you repeat it? Do you know where it is? And can you dial it back a little bit less or a little bit more by the time it gets down to your unload sequence to be able to unravel properly? Okay, so does that answer that question? The last of the 5 motion sequence is the stance trigger mesh, and that's just taking your stance, having a trigger, and being able to mesh your arm swing with your footwork. Not timing, just having it flow together, having a tempo, having a rhythm, having a flow to you walking past the ball, okay? I got into a little bit more than I wanted to, but Garland, that's a good question, because a lot of people, I see so many people, they do this. This is this is what they do first. And then they say, well, I need the ball to do a little bit different, so they start over here. I'm not at all saying that that's bad. If starting the ball a little bit differently helps you feel as you're entering your load sequence so that you can unload a little bit differently, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. But yet I see so many people that throw the ball very, very well. Man, they go to these coaches, and it's almost like some of these coaches, they find something just to show them something. I don't know. I don't like teaching that way. Let's see how it gets off your hand, and let's clean that up first, and then work our way back from the foul line into your stance. All right. Any other questions?
That is good.
Okay. I'll throw a couple more shots. We'll call it a day. How long we been on?
40 minutes.
Okay, so this will be one of my quicker ones.
He's hungry.
For those of you guys, I'm going to throw this from in a little bit more. I really liked what this did from in, actually. Probably the best ball reaction of any of the areas. Actually got that one in a little bit. It held off a little bit. So Bill, if you're still watching, yeah, I would say this is definitely a usable piece because it's different enough. You know, keep in mind that weak core, that's a really important attribute to have in some of your balls. You have the stronger core balls, and sometimes they get revved up too much and have too much deflection, and you try to throw them faster, and then it blows by the spot. It's important to have some a couple weaker core options, a couple higher RG options, not even core-wise, differential-wise, but RG number-wise. Get those RG numbers up if you're having trouble dealing with the friction in the front. If you don't have the ability to throw it faster, if you don't have those physical tools that you need to develop. All right, one more shot. If there's no more questions, then we'll sign off. We'll call it a day. Okay? 27, 24. Let's go. That one was a little bit on the slower side. Wasn't as crisp through that explosion point, through the unload sequence. It didn't feel as crisp. A lot of times when I feel that, with some of the stronger core balls, they might read a little too soon, or they might check a little bit because they're stronger. Just if I'm not as crisp. So it's good. I would say that weaker core helped that one reach a little bit farther down the lane for the way that I threw it that shot. I can't end on that shot though. I want to throw with a really.
All right, before you do that, a couple of really quick, simple questions.
Okay, 2 questions.
Chad, how about 14 pounds versus 16 pounds?
Well, 2 pounds. I mean, you do sacrifice quite a bit with 2 pounds. I think the proper ball weight is one that you can handle, one that you can feel the subtle changes and execute the subtle changes that you have to have.
Ted Burke has no problems putting 10 back with 14 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys on tour. I know Brian Kretzer was using 14 pounds for a while on tour. I would say it's a lot easier to rotate a 6-pound ball than it is 15 pounds. So, in that theory, 16 pounds, your rev rate's probably going to be a little lower. Your ball speed will probably be a little slower. And if in those cases, the ball motion, the precession that you have, you're not able to get the ball all the way down the lane, then maybe a lighter ball is the option. On the other hand, you got some people that they already throw it a little too fast, or they don't have a high enough rev rate, and they throw a 14-pound ball, it's going to be even faster. But the rev rate will be a little higher. So it's all a balance. It's all a match. I don't think, and I know there's all the theories out there. Hey, if you hit this pin with 16 pounds, it obviously transfers more energy than does the 14-pound. I understand that, but you still have to deliver that ball 60 feet away. That being the case, if we put the pin right here and we don't have the invisible course that we have to navigate, okay, then that argument holds a lot more weight. was a lot more of an argument. But when you're talking about trying to navigate an invisible course that's changing every shot, sometimes 16 won't hit harder. If you're able to deliver it to the pocket and it's not used up, obviously it would hit a little harder. But I can't use 16 pounds. When they used to have the plastic ball tournament, I would drill 16 pounds for that week just because I wanted that extra pound of hit. And I'll tell you, by the end of the week, man, my wrist was sore, felt like it was swollen. The recovery was a lot more difficult from one day to the next just by that extra 1 pound that I have. So 16 versus 14, I know it's not a short answer, but again, it's kind of my thoughts on it.
Okay. 2 more questions. You throw 1 more shot, and we're done.
Okay.
Steve, Brad, is it important to your thumb out? I think he mentioned that. I think he's trying to say. I don't know. Here.
Is
I
it
don't
important
know
to
what
get
he's.
your thumb out
Yeah.
before you
Is
let
it
go
important
of the
to get your thumb out first at
Yes.
the release point? Yes.
Yes. And a good drill for that. You can stand right up here, put your left foot into the gutter, put your thumb into the ball, just hold it out here and just let it fall and rotate the circumference. You want to rotate around the ball. Get it rotated. Not this. That's different. Ball went that way. You want to be able to get that ball to rotate without it moving, without it going down the lane. If you're interested more about those types of drills, without a doubt, you should be logging into Bowl U or getting in touch with Rick. It's worth it. Josh just put a great post up a couple days ago about Bowl U and how worthwhile Bowl U is. So now that the shutdowns are hopefully a thing of the past, I can speak for Rick. We'll be glad to get on the road if you organize in your area a group of people that want to learn more about Bowl U. Next.
Last question. Mark Reck. He wants to know where that ball kind of fits in the whole IQ line.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Okay, now I would say,
What are the differences? He said that.
well, keep in mind it's difficult to say where it fits. I would say its closest neighbor in the IQ line is the IQ Tour, the blue one. But I think this cover is stronger than the IQ Tour. I don't know that exactly. I wish I had an IQ Tour here. But that IQ Tour, for as good a ball as that was, for some reason, it never really showed itself to me. I had one in all the years since that ball's been out. I've drilled probably 8 or 9 of them, and I really only had one that I really felt like was comfortable with going down the lane. But this one, I would say, is stronger than the original IQ Tour. Obviously, it's smoother than the IQ Emerald. I think the IQ Emerald is a great ball too, but it's that quicker end. I can't use it as often as most people have been able to use it just because of my weaker hand, my lower rev rate. I need a lot more friction down lane to be able to use a ball like that. Certainly, yeah, well, I guess to answer your question quickly, it's the strongest of the IQ line. Say it that way. I don't think there's been anything even close to as strong as this. But that core, that weak core, that's the important thing. That I think it's important to have in your ball. You have other weaker core balls that electrify, the matchup, the stuff like that. Those were weaker balls or weaker core, but it was more of a entry level type of reaction. There were some matchups that looked good. Josh really liked that matchup Black Pearl. But I think IQ wise, I think this would be the strongest, and then you'd have the IQ Tour, and then probably the Fusion, and then probably the emerald and the gold are probably
They're almost the same.
almost the same balls. So,
Okay, so
oh, we got another question.
no, it's the same question from the same guy. He said, would not changing the surfaces make them closer to the same? I was told it would be 4 boards stronger than the Tour. If you've ever watched our shows, we don't speak like that. 4 boards stronger, weaker type of thing.
Yeah, when you talk about lateral moves, that's assuming there's oil there.
That's it. That's the answer.
And you know, to say that a ball is 4 boards stronger, sometimes you move 4 boards left and you're thinking, okay, now I need a stronger ball, and you miss the head pin left. Well, that's because E.J. Tackett started 4 boards left in you, and you forgot about where he was and how much depletion he causes. So we don't really want to talk about lateral. The lateral discussions mean so much less when you talk about the front to back precession that has to happen. Bowl U terms. The lane's 720 inches lane. The lane is 720 inches long. The amount of the lateral hook that you can have is only 18 inches. From the gutter to the pocket is 18 inches. 720 divided by 18 is 40. So the length of the lane is 40 times more important than how much you can hook it. So keep that in mind when you're talking about it's 4 boards stronger. What if there's a lot more oil there? Now you missed the head pin. So it's not so much a lateral move as much as it is what effect does it have on precession. Okay, higher friction will help precession happen more easily in oil. Quicker response time helps precession happen more quickly as it comes in contact with less and less oil. All right, did I answer that? Is that a good? Okay. One more shot, and that's it. One more shot, and then forever hold your peace. Next week, we will do, I got a bunch of new balls out there, so be looking for the website. Josh and I will talk about what ball we want to do.
Maybe Rubicon?
I don't have the Rubicon in yet. I just ordered it, but I hear that Rubicon is a pretty incredible piece.
Maybe in 2 weeks, the Rubicon.
But I got Nuclear Cell. I got the new Belmo ball. I got all of that stuff. We can compare it to some of these. The trend, yeah, we can do that. I really like that
Hey,
trend.
look at that rack. Look at that rack.
Oh, look at this rack.
He didn't even look at it.
Well, it's the second cycle.
That's going to be a tough one to strike on.
It is going to be a tough one to strike on. Probably going to week 10, but I'm shooting it anyway.
Really high. Trip 4. Trip 4. Trip 4. Oh!
Now, when you can saw the 5 directly into the 8, you know you got something. All right, we'll see you next week. Again, thank you to E.J. Tackett and the Lockport and Bluffton hospitals for all of you do. Thank you, Tim and Josh, and we're glad to be back. So like and share all of these stuff, all of these videos, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday at noon. Thanks, guys.